first thing is we're going to talk about technical surprise and resilience. Technical surprise, I have three parts to it. Exposure to unexpected capabilities, for example, from adversaries, unpredicted failures of technologies that we employ, and then the introduction of unexpected capabilities, um, which is to surprise our adversaries. And then resilience is the ability to develop counter technologies and address these unexpected capabilities, etc. And that is pretty much improvisation or looking at alternatives and trying to identify these things ahead of time. The analogy that I used was with electric cars, and it was a great idea, but not everybody talked, and now there's all kinds of challenges there. So we're either going to do this, innovation or invention. Open sharing and two-way discussions were the things that we came up with. All right, Mr. Morris.
Hello there. The piece I want to raise is mostly a historical one. One of the best technological surprises, I think, of the last century, besides the computer, is the really one-sided advantage of stealth fighters. And for those that haven't had the pleasure to read or listen to Skunkworks, that technology was originated out of Soviet research that was read by Lockheed Martin folks who then developed into the stealth systems we have much of today. So I think one important part of innovation is to not ignore the past, either of your own or of near peers, because it's something that whether it's from science fiction and now we've got cell phones in everybody's pockets to a formula that was written by a long ignored Soviet professor. There can be a lot of resources that we're sitting on. Not everything is just beyond the fold of, oh, we just need $1 billion in quantum, we'll solve it. I think we've all seen plenty of innovations that come down to simplicity or using resources that were already available. So I just want to highlight that of something that we've found at our work is looking at what's already been done, especially in other fields that might be novel applications for, in my case, aerospace. So thank you for putting this on, though.
No, that's great. And actually, it was you that I had reached out to when I heard about repurposing of space junk, which was to me a novel idea to actually reuse stuff that's out there. Um, and there's all kinds of things that we've discussed on those topics. Relocating things that are in space as well. And I'm guessing there's probably ways to use that as an armament of some sort. So, not to, when you're talking about, so not neglecting what we've learned in the past. Are you talking about
Correct.
bringing old tech? Are you talking about bringing old technologies back, or just keeping appraised of history and lessons learned?
I think definitely history and lessons learned. The amount of times I, in my relatively short career, have already seen different divisions of a particular armed forces reinvent something that they have within their own organization, just three branches down, is infuriating. First, as a taxpayer, and secondly, as someone trying to engage innovation with those partners. So it's something that very much being aware of what your organization has done historically. Is there already a range or a unit of subject matter experts sitting around on this content already has air bearing tables and you want to build your own? It's a lot faster, cheaper, and easier to just go borrow from the buddy than to have to build your own, because otherwise we end up with unnecessary replication. That's a loss of resources, time, and talent of people that feel unutilized, sitting away dusting in a corner when actually there's another end of the building even that might want their services. So a lot of cross collaboration and communication as possible. Obviously, compartmentalization has its time and place, but it's something that we continue to see numerous same types that have been built at different corners of this country, all because people weren't talking to each other, or maybe that's the piece. They don't want to hop on a plane. So again, it's a big thing of not always reusing the oldest technology. Cassettes tapes had their heyday, but it's something that it's important for our teams to be aware of. I know from some of the cybersecurity folks that knowing some things are air gapped to a anachronistic sense, You just can't put ones and zeros through to it. So there is benefits to understanding our past as much as we move towards the future and applying techniques of what were done for previous wars, what were done for previous engagements, what were done in previous histories. But I'll get off the soapbox. But that's what I'm thinking is being aware of the organizational history and the trajectory that led to today. It wasn't just accidents and mistakes that got us to the moon. It was standing on to the soldiers of giants.
Yeah. Okay. Josh, do you have something to say? You're unmuted. Nope. All right.
Sorry about that. No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So who else? That's a good idea. I mean, to put ego and pride aside, to actually look at what's worked in the past and how it applies. These are the things that the three things up there that are the ones that are really driving this forum is the innovation and invention and open sharing and two-way discussions. You really don't get a lot out of somebody just attending a webinar where they're just talking at you. So again, anybody else have anything they want to say as far as addressing technical surprise? Okay. Tammy, Ms. Fitzpatrick, you're going to be presenting in a couple weeks or in a week, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so Tammy is with Entropy Technology Design, is that right?
That is correct. Yes, we are looking forward to presenting.
And one of the things that they're presenting on their technology has multiple applications, and that's another thing that we look for here. So a lot of what they do is a lot of the places that they're trying to apply this aren't standard. So do you want to go in, since I'll give you the floor, to talk a little bit about addressing technical surprise with the different applications of your solution?
Are you turning this over to me?
I am, Tammy.
Okay.
I am putting you on the spot.
Wasn't sure. Yeah. This is my first time to attend one of your, actually my second time. So thank you for the opportunity that you provide to all of us. I do not have my Chief Technology Officer on with me today. He will be part of the actual presentation that we do. Very short explanation. Our technology works in low frequency magnetic field detection, and over the last several years, we are presenting a very unique solution to a problem out there, beginning with weather detection, moving into detection of failing infrastructures, counter UAS, a variety of things that are considered to be threats. So we're looking forward to presenting, and I'll be honest, I'm catching up on what technical surprise has to offer here. So I'm not really going to be able to go into a lengthy description unless you want me to do a little bit more than that. Eugene, I'll turn it over to you.
No, that was it. I just wanted to know that, I wanted let people know that one of the things, whether you are looking to do it or not, is you are addressing technical surprise by coming up with new applications for existing technologies and in places that people would have not have seen before. Okay, I do have, thank you for that. I do have something in the chat from Brett Stewart, excuse me. What about unknown capabilities right at our fingertips? Case in point is a recent issue where a field team's unawareness of a capability they had on their pack contributed to our inability to locate them quickly during a critical time. The surprise was that the users didn't have the cognizance necessary to employ available tech. And this is key. Not just the fact that they had it and they didn't know how to use it, or they didn't know all the uses for it. But there is a lot of what we call obscure solutions out there. And we do a lot of research to identify these obscure solutions. One of which that I can only just mention it here is because they haven't fully protected their IP, but there is a product out there. It is an EMP rifle. So this is a man-portable 8-pound rifle that has the capability of taking down a drone at a distance of 4 to 5 kilometers. And I am guessing that most people here are not aware of that. And this is one of the things that we try to do here, and we need to add to our list here, is to bring about awareness of what is state of the art, what is new, novel, and obscure. We have presented technologies like um, one that can transmit RF underwater, and that no one knew existed and actually defied physics. And that same technology can be used to communicate through the walls of a skiff. They actually took it to Cheyenne Mountain, put a camera inside of a skiff, closed up the skiff, walked 100 yards away, and they could see what was on the camera. So this is what we try to do, and what we need to do as a whole team is to try and identify these obscure things. And the only way we're going to do this is through an open sharing, open platform. Felicity, you had something? I'd rather not read your chat. I'd rather have you talk.
Sure. I was hoping that people could, if people know, could, talk about what mechanisms and systems are currently in play for teams to identify these previously unknown capabilities. I know there's different platforms and technology, different, but it would just be interesting to know what, to get an inventory of these types of things.
So I know, and if does anybody have anything they want to chime in there? I don't want to run this whole thing. Please, I want to hear from everybody. So I know that the Army was trying to do something with I believe they called it Catalyst Pathfinder or Pathfinder Catalyst, something there was those two words. I don't know which way. And the idea was to put an app in the hands of the warfighter, where the warfighter, if they came up with a solution, if they came across a challenge, then they could just pull out their phone, capture it, and send it all the way up to eventually through their brigade, or I'm not an Army guy, so I apologize, but through their command, and up to eventually the Army Research Lab. And there, the Army Research Lab would evaluate that and find out whether or not that was something that they could solve or something that had applicability. So I think what you're saying is, and we really need to get this all the way down into the hands of the warfighter. So is anybody within the Army familiar with that project? I don't know how far it went.
I am in the Army, but I just signed on, so my apologies. I'm catching up with what you were just talking about.
All right. So yeah, and like I said, and I don't know if it even exists, but one of the things that we had proposed is to use a platform like this, and our ecosystem, which is close to 4,000 people now, and rather than have ARL try to hire subject matter experts to identify or evaluate these solutions or identify solutions, to open it up in a forum just like this. These forums are 50-minute presentations, but there is no reason why we couldn't do a 1-hour forum of 5-minute presentations. The whole goal of this is ideate. and that's what I want you to do. Ideate on how we can resolve technical surprise and how we can resolve resilience or improve our resilience. Excuse me, I got a sorry, I had a cough there. So let me go back in the chat. See here. So what was that?
I just I just posted a link to the program that you referenced, Catalyst Pathfinder.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I'd be interested to hear from the lady from the Army or anyone else what other systems are in place to identify, these unknown quote unquote technical capabilities. And
Yeah, and it would be interesting to know because I know working at Naval Research Laboratory, there were 100 different groups within Naval Research Laboratory, and people don't know that what the rest of the laboratory is doing, and if the research in another group was applicable to the research that they're doing, and like Troy had said, people would try and solve the problem themselves, spend a week or more trying to do that, and ultimately they could have gone walked down the hall or picked up the phone and solved it in less than an hour. And so as far as what other agencies are doing, can people share within their agencies, whether it's commercial companies or federal agencies, what they're doing? All right, come on, please. I don't want to have to call on people. Okay, Jeremy, you're next.
I'm not allowed to speak officially for where I work, but the inability to see what the other parts of your infrastructure are doing, the expert in one field who has no idea that an expert in another field has a solution that could be adapted to his problem is endemic in all the national lab system. It exists at all universities. There's the push, the pull, and the play. And the push is, I have this solution to your problem here. Let me show you it works. The pull is, I have a problem. Somebody help me solve it. And play is, well, I've got this thing. What else can we do with it? Or our enemies have this thing. What else could they do with it if they just tweaked it a little bit? So it's amazing to me how much siloing every system in every group has in our country.
I agree. Um, other
I was gonna
people,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to pick on you a little bit about your electric car analogies because so many of the problems you pointed out, I'm an unreasonable pro EV geek, but a lot of the things you pointed out are educational problems. My favorite argument about cold weather stuff is a friend who went to college in North Dakota, and he pointed out that when you got to school, the parking lot had a plug for every car because you plugged in a block heater in the morning or you weren't going home that night. It's
Right.
the same with EVs. You get to school, you plug in an EV, even a low level power that would solve most of the range and the battery temperature problems the same way a block heater does for a car. So it's just an education and an adaptation of technology that already exists to a problem, and that's an educational problem. But it's one that both sides, I don't know that the solution exists, and you don't know that you need to teach me the solution exists.
Right. But if you could get people together, you could
Mhm.
see that.
Yeah. The stealth example given at the beginning of this is a perfect example of something that's transformational. It's a push. Here, look, we can do this great thing. Um, when he was talking, I was thinking, oh, sorry, I muted myself. I was thinking about World War II and Pearl Harbor, and one of the two of the things that led to the destruction we suffered at Pearl Harbor were the belief that the Japanese dive bombers were not an effective force at all, so we didn't worry about them, and that shallow water airdrop torpedoes were not a thing the Japanese had mastered. That was not something we need to worry about. So not taking an example of what your adversary has and tinkering with it to see how hard would it really be for them to pull off a shallow water drop. So not knowing that they could develop that led to some of the surprises that helped the Japanese do a lot of damage at Pearl Harbor.
Right. So, Alan, is it Alan? Elaine? Do you have something to say? Baum, Mr. Baum? Or, okay, nope, I guess not. Yeah, no, and I think that's where you get into resilience, is that you can't close your mind to, oh yeah, they don't have that technology. They're not there yet. I think we need to change the way we look at it and say, we don't think they're there yet, but if they are, how are we going to resolve it? And we need to just not shun off the idea that the experts say that we're not there yet. Well, the experts aren't always right, and so we do need to address, and that's where we need to address resilience. So back into the chat, Brett had written on. So he says, depends on the unit. Training is obviously important, but training is usually geared towards the happy path, meaning how to operate during expected situations. Right. So improvisation is something that we need to look at. Training should also throw out unexpected scenarios and emphasis on how we deal with these. Sorry about that. How we deal with these scenarios or situations with the tech that we have available. Okay, movie Apollo 13 scene where NASA had to help astronauts fix an issue with only what was available on the spacecraft. And there again, yes, I mean we do need to, we tend to try and just get the basics into people, and I don't know, I guess it's more of a memorization thing when a repetitive memorization, you know, first do A, then do B, then do C, and then the problem is that if you get if you don't can't finish A, then what do you do? And I don't think we teach that. And one of the ways I think we could get around this is that rather than just teaching the how, we also need for people to understand the why. I've said it on here before that if you understand the why behind something, that why applies to so many other things. So just to know how to operate a computer may not be enough. Um, well, but to understand why a computer does what it does when you do this and when you do that, well then you can carry that over to other technologies, other applications. So I do agree with you, um, that there does need to be improvisation built into the training. Okay, then there are also multiple experiments, exercises where tech is demoed in real world environments, presenting challenges at these events that could aid in discovery process. And yeah, that is true. And one of the exercises that I went to was phenomenal. It was an experimentation exercise, and I really think that we need to do more of those. Basically, what they did, it was around electronic warfare and countermeasures, and they brought people together, companies together that are normally competitors, and they split them up into a red team and a blue team, and they had to collaborate, find ways to put their technologies together to either infiltrate or prevent infiltration. They worked on this for 4 or 5 days, and then the last day they conducted an exercise where they competed against each other. And what was garnered out of that, the relationships that were built, the advancements in the technologies that people most of these were around TRL4 technologies. It was phenomenal. And there again, it was all improvisation and how to adapt. So I think those are good points.
What was the name of that event?
That was Silent Swarm. It happens in Michigan in the summertime every year. It's an invitation only event. So sometime soon, usually November, December timeframe, there'll be an invitation to submit topics or submit technologies to the exercise. And they do a land exercise and a water exercise.
Cool, thanks.
Yes. But I think, like, again, yeah, I think rather than scripted scenarios, I think that Brett is correct, that more of what we do needs to be unscripted. So what are we doing out there to address technical surprise and resilience? I mean, I know it's part of DARPA's charter to address technical surprise and resilience, but there again, with what people have been saying is that we don't know what DARPA's doing. There's got to be a way for people to at least have a general idea of a topic. You know, they don't need to know the details, but you know that DARPA's working on hypersonics or DARPA's working on stealth, so that if they do have a solution that falls in that scope, they can present it for somebody to evaluate to see if it's applicable to the challenges and the solutions that they're looking to build. Okay, Troy, or one bucket.
Yeah. On that note, and I'll use the stealth example. I'm kind of close to this one. I think when you're talking technical surprise, it's really hard to predict surprises, henceforth the definition of surprise. What you have to do is be prepared to deal with that surprise when it actually happens. It's kind of the known unknown. You know it's going to happen, you just don't know what it is or when it's going to happen, but you need to be it. And with innovation, that's the key to getting around technical surprise. But with innovation comes collaboration, and I would argue imagination. And I'll use the stealth example. The F-117 fighter, which came out of the Have Blue program, came out of a discussion from a couple major patch wearers in the Pentagon at the time. The problem was penetration of an integrated air defense system, kind of what we have now. And how do we get our aircraft into those weapons engagement zones, missile engagement zones to do what we need to do? And the comment was, boy, it'd be nice to have an invisible airplane like Wonder Woman. And all of a sudden somebody said, well, wait a minute, that why couldn't we build an invisible airplane? Keeping in mind, we're not talking the visible IR UV spectrum, we're talking the RF spectrum, because at that time the primary threat was RF guided surface air missiles, RF guided AAA, and RF guided AI. So the question came out. The problem was, how do we get in? The question came out using some imagination. Can we build an invisible airplane? Which was given to the Skunk Works, of which they came up with the Have Blue with the F-117 program, and then Northrop Grumman took another route and built the B-2. So the answer to the question that was posed to the problem was, can we build an invisible airplane? And some imagination had to go with that to even make that statement. Same thing, fast forward ahead to DARPA, worked on the Spectrum Challenge 2 with Paul Tillman. And one of the problem sets we had, Spectrum Challenge 2 was basically, could we build a cognitive command and control and communication systems that could communicate and collaborate and be dropped into any electromagnetic spectrum environment and be able to figure out what was around, and then share, come up with a plan so that you could do whatever you need to do, pass information. But one of the challenges to sell that, if we could create that type of logarithms and put it into our software-defined radios, was how do we sell it? And what we wanted to do was have a challenge, and we wanted that challenge to be a spectator sport, no different than football or basketball or any other sports, where somebody who doesn't know anything about spectrum could walk in and quickly pick up on what was going on and cheer for one of the teams um, to do that. And we said, wouldn't that be great? Let's imagine that this is becoming a spectator sport. The electromagnetic spectrum, watching radios and networks go at it, which is to be the more efficient, to be able to pass more information and more contested. That would be a spectator sport. And with that imagination, we started to do some collaboration and went to the old rule: don't ask if you want a new answer. Don't ask the same people and present them with the same problem because you're gonna get the same answer. So we went out to other people that we don't normally go to in the Department of Defense, primarily the gaming industry, to give us visual and set up that. So having something in place that you can collaborate and then phrasing the questions to invoke imagination with the answers, I think are keys to being resilient and taking care of technical surprise. Over.
Okay.
Just to build on what Troy said there, which by the way, great name, Troy, is I want to highlight that part of, looking to the outside sometimes. I think in your example was the gaming industry is there's sometimes a lot of great benefit to expecting surprise from an outsider who doesn't know that we can't make invisible planes or doesn't know that you can't have computers in every soldier's pocket. The people who don't know why we can't do stuff sometimes can give those amazing insights. So I think sometimes turning to the outside in appropriate ways is a great aspect. But Eugene, back to you.
And just an add
Yeah.
on, the people that we actually hired to do the visual to make it a spectator sport, which they succeeded in very, very effectively. I thought we'd go down and talk to Disney, but Paul said, let's go talk to the gaming industry. And we did. And we found a couple of retired uh, programmers in Los Angeles doing software outside their garage, and they're the ones that came up with, and they had no idea what the electromagnetic spectrum was. None of the technical. They just understood what we wanted the product we wanted, and they created a great product without even knowing anything about the spectrum.
Okay. So sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here too. So SOCOM JATF works with DARPA. Brett interfaces with DARPA to recent JATF. The point is that there are ways to engage with DARPA, but we need to take the initiative. Believe me, I I have been pinging on DARPA from 15 different angles to try and get DARPA to talk to me about my ideas and about what we're trying to accomplish with this forum. And I cannot get a call back or a reach back. So if anybody out there has any kind of sway with DARPA, please, I'd like the opportunity just to sit down with them and share my ideas and share what we're trying to accomplish and show them what it does. Because one of the things when we built this, it was hard to get people to understand it because it was so far out of the norm. And so the only way that I was able to do it was to build it, bring people in to see what we're doing, and once people attended, then they were able to grasp what it is that we're trying to do.
Eugene, I have someone who will definitely take your call at DARPA.
Okay,
I'll
thank
hook
you.
up.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, because
Yep.
yep, that'll be good. So another thing too that we've addressed, and I brought this up on last week's presentation, is one of the challenges with the federal government is that they're missing about I guesstimate about 70% of the solutions that are available to them. They put out requests for proposals. I understand they have to go through, sam.gov. There's only certain places and there's requirements that people have to meet. And there is a whole commercial industry that just can't do it. um, or they're happy with their commercial customers and they have no desire to go after federal funding. Another thing is that those RFPs and RFSs and RFIs, people within the federal government that are have appropriated funding and research labs that have research funding, they're not out there looking for places to acquire funding or to put their solutions because they already have that. And so why expend the time? We need to find another way to do that. And one of the things that I like to point out is that every request for proposal, request for information, all of those things, BAAs, they are all requests for solutions. And there's got to be a place where we can put those. And I mean, people can still go to sam.gov and you can still require them to submit proposals through the proper chain, but there's got to be a place that the general public can go and see what it is that the government is trying to solve so that the government can tap into that 70% of the industries that they're missing. And we saw that. We've seen that on the forums. I mean, I've had two organizations within the Army that were doing complementary work, and they met on a forum, and neither one of them knew the other one existed. So, if there were ways to, if there was a way to do that, to create this open forum and make it so that it's open to everybody, because as we see here all the time, just because a technology is designed for a specific industry or a specific application, it
I'll let you
doesn't
know how it
mean.
is.
Could you please mute whoever just came in? That doesn't mean it doesn't have other applications. I mean, we took a module that was designed for communications within the noise, and we found two applications within radar and one application for cybersecurity. We took a marine biologist that was studying fish surfaces and tied him in with Navy, obviously, and hulls and hydrodynamics, but also into Air Force Futures and AFRL with research on hypersonics because of the way that air how air is impacted at hypersonic speeds. It acts more like a liquid. So, you know, there's got to be a place, and I'm on my soapbox again, and I'll step down, but we've. What do you think? If people can share, I mean, if there was an open place where you could just punch in a couple of words and find out if a solution existed, would that be something that people would be interested in? If you could punch in a couple words and find out what solutions the federal government is looking for. I mean, raise your hands, put a comment in the chat, tell me I'm totally off my rocker or it's a great idea.
Eugene, this is Brian.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the platform called Reddit.
Yeah.
And the Reddit community is fantastic about solving world-class challenges. But you have trolls and it's totally open. So I would almost combine the Reddit platform with how DARPA does theirs, which requires a rather extensive application to vet. And then once you're vetted, you can participate in search.
Right, and that is true because that people would have to be vetted. Obviously, if you're going to put a solution up, there has to be vetting. Otherwise, it's going to turn into what Reddit has turned into, which is it's just another social media site, and with all of its subreddits that are off color, and you don't want it to get to that, because then you lose purpose, you lose your effectiveness. So yes, a there would have to be policing and vetting, so it couldn't be truly open. But from the search side, it could be. And it would work both ways. I mean, it would give, federal agencies, it could give federal agencies the opportunity to search for solutions, and they could do it anonymously. And then it would give vendors and federal agencies with solutions the opportunity to share those across both industries. So the federal government can put things on to share with the federal government and with commercial industry, and the commercial people would put theirs on for the same purpose, to share with commercial and federal.
Is that not sort of what TradeWinds is? And just from the government side, I mean, isn't that the whole point? They can go in there and keyword search the submissions side, and then Vulcan, and it seems like there's a lot of platforms already. Like,
Right. Yes. And there are, yeah, because there's Vulcan, there used to be max.gov. I'm not familiar with TradeWinds. Uh, there are a lot of those. There are a lot of different ones out there. And I can't really speak to them that well. There was an open request out that I had submitted for, the sources sought, um, to set up a concierge service within the federal government. That nothing ever happened with that. I never, nothing. I've never seen anything after. They were talking about award in June of last year, and nothing ever happened to it. So I'd be curious as to how that went and what the issues were. That was through OUSD ANS. But I am currently working with other entities on something like that. There is actually in the is a requirement for the government to set up an innovation ecosystem, and I am working with people on that also. Okay, so Vulcan is for managing exercises and experimentation. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Any ideas? I think we're coming up with some good things here. I'm not writing anything down because I record this, and I will be going through the transcripts and reaching out to people afterwards. Josh Weaver, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just piling on the Vulcan comment that it's more than just exercises. It's also
I thought it was.
Yeah, it's a technology scout tool that I've used it for in accordance with a couple exercises, but also just encouraging vendors to put their so a vendor gets the opportunity to put their technologies up and where they think the relevance is and their estimated technology relevance level. Government folks get to have that all discoverable across many different technology areas and searchable, but also can see the reviews from exercises that get applied to those technologies. And of course, the vendors can see the reviews for their technologies as well, but then the government can see across, again, the government assessments across all those technology areas. I found it to be a very handy tool, and I actually enjoy checking in on it once in a while to just to kind of poke around if I'm looking for ideas. I would really like to see it more widely adopted. But I know DoD uses it, DHS uses it. The SOCOM folks obviously are big users, but yeah, pretty powerful tool a little bit.
Yeah, and I've heard there are people out there that are interested in replacing Vulcan or trying to, compete with Vulcan. Um, do you know of anybody at Vulcan or who sponsors it?
I think SOCOM sponsors it.
Okay.
I might have some names if I dig in my email box.
Good. I've got all the contacts at SOCOM that I would need.
Okay.
So if it's out of S&T or I guess SoftWorks would be the best place to go.
And if they don't do it, they would point you in the right direction, I'm sure.
Yeah, because maybe we should get them on the forum to talk about it in a little more detail. Because I've heard about it, but I actually, when I was in the federal government, I went there once to try and join, and it was kind of difficult. It was not an easy process, and so I just kind of pushed it to the wayside.
The biggest impediment right now, in my opinion, is the fact they don't have CAC logins. So they do this two-factor authentication. You got to go through email. It is a pain in the butt to get to it from government machines.
We just presented a perfect solution by a company called Quarks, and Felicity, you're going to want to talk to them. Where there is no two-factor authentication.
What's the name of it, Eugene?
I'm Quarks, QWERX.
Thank you.
Is that because they don't do that second factor, which is generally a good thing, or because they use like a passkey or something more modern that doesn't require that?
They're using a totally different way where they're authenticating the machine. They're doing something with the machine and not the person. So they're actually authenticating the machine and not necessarily the person, if I'm correct. And I apologize. I talk to so many people and present so many technologies to get into the details would require me to actually pull up their presentation and review it. But if anyone is interested, I can send the information, and I believe that their presentation is on our YouTube channel.
So it's called Quirks?
Yeah, QWERX. And I put the link to our YouTube channel in
All right, thanks.
there. I'm going to go back through the chat here. Okay, thank you, Felicity, for the trade wins. Brett for Vulcan. Okay, so Vulcan is expanding. So USASOC. Okay. All right, thank you for that, Brett, for looking into vision. But and I think Troy brought it up too. I think it was Troy Morris that brought it up about, or Jeremy, I apologize, collaborating and not trying to reinvent the wheel, which we do, and we don't share. We rice bowl. This is mine, and I know that it's a challenge within the federal government. I know there is very limited IP protection between federal agencies. There is between a federal agency and commercial market. But if I have a great idea, but I don't have the funding to develop that idea at my agency, if I let that information get out to somebody that has funding but doesn't have an idea, they can very easily take that idea and develop it without ever giving me credit for it. And that's something that needs to change as well within the federal government. I also think that. Go ahead. Nope. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know the guys at Vision. The company's called Mobilize. I think Vision's the tool. I just popped the link in the chat. They're a great company, and they're getting some traction across a bunch of different branches. I was going to bring it up. So Brett, I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, there's one that I'm on called, they're in an experimental experimentation phase right now called 9i. Um, but I don't. But they're more of a collaborative platform. All right. So who do we need to talk to? Um, to get this stuff done. To how to get people to talk to each other. Where does it start? Does it start at the bottom? Um, is this going to be is this a bottom up approach? Is this a top down approach? Jeremy Tootin?
So it's not just the who, it's the how. You had SoftWorks present previously, and I invited a couple of people that I thought might enjoy the presentation. I represented it wrong to them, apparently. I thought SoftWorks was going to come on and present a lot of pain points, either a large mission problem or a specific technology problem. It'd be nice if the warfighter had this, if it'd be nice if this technology or this piece of equipment could do this more or be lighter or be faster or something. And I had a couple of people that I'd invited to join, and I misrepresented how SoftWorks was going to present. And they spent, I think, more of their presentation on how you interact with them, how you bring ideas to them. And if we could get our partners to, we could have some of the forums that are present the toys and some of the forums present the problems to people who've already presented solutions or people who are interested in the various ways our technologies could work together.
Yeah, and that falls on me because I was under that same impression, and that was the impression that I gave everyone. What I found out is after the fact that because there was not a SOCOM representative on the call, SoftWorks, because they are a contractor, they could not speak to specific requirements within SOCOM. And so that was my bad. I learned that lesson the hard way, and I apologize to everybody that I told that it was going to be a discussion of pain points and looking for solutions, that it didn't turn out to be that way.
Hey, Eugene, this is
Yes.
Steve Kressel. I'm a program manager here at SoftWorks. Yeah, that's correct. We merely provide the ecosystem to deliver capabilities to SOCOM. In terms of specific requirements or capabilities, that would have to be a technical POC over at SOCOM would have to hop in on here. And in the future, Eugene, we could help coordinate that discussion though, if that's something that you'd be interested in having. Over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to do this with all of the works organizations. This is one of the ideas, that I'm working with Defense Industrial Base to try and get all of the manufacturing innovation institutes to set up a partnered forum. I want to get Defense Works and all its subsidiaries to set up a partnered platform. The Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. That'd be fantastic. And of course, yeah, our corporate hub is Defense Works, and we have several innovation hubs throughout, the national security space and defense space as well. So yeah, that would be happy to hop on here and help you guys out for sure.
Yeah, and I'm working with Dennis and Brian closely on that. They actually approached me about wanting to set up a SoftWorks forum. And when they sent it up to DefenseWorks for approval, DefenseWorks put a pause on it and said they wanted to evaluate it for all of the works organizations, because I also had Nautilus, Doolittle, and Energy Works were all
fantastic.
interested in that. So then again, so now we're into the bureaucratic and then, the time delay type stuff. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was the manufacturing innovation institutes. If people don't know what they are, you need to learn what they are, especially if you're in the federal government, especially if you're a commercial entity. They work in the Valley of Death. They work from TRL 4 to TRL 7. And that's what they support. They don't support research. They don't support product development. They support prototype development. So I think it's key. If you don't know who they are, please reach out, and I can introduce you. You can look up under Defense Industrial Base, the Manufacturing Innovation Institutes. These are quasi-federal, not-for-profits, kind of like a MITRE, kind of like a ARI, and they, like I said, they function in that TRL 4 to 7 Valley of Death. AFOA is one of them. That is the Advanced Fabrics Group, and I don't know off the top of my head what AFFOA stands for, but basically they look at advanced textiles, um, stronger, uh, different types of weaves, putting conductors or other things inside electronics, inside of fabric, putting, developing ballistic stuff. One of the people that we introduced them to was a company that just makes pockets, detachable pockets. And so now imagine all the different shapes and sizes of people out there. And when you buy a uniform, the pants, the blouses, the pockets are all in the same spot, and it may not be comfortable for every person. The other thing is pockets are designed for specific things. There's a pocket right in the front of the chest that is supposed to hold an ATAC. Well, if the size of the ATAC changes, then the pocket's not, it doesn't work anymore. So designers are restricted to that pocket size. Well, what if you can detach and attach pockets where they can fit? And so this was a concept that someone developed for the commercial fashion industry, but we're trying to bring it into the federal. All right, so I'm going to open it up real quick. I want to thank everybody for your participation here. Please emails. Talk about this with your colleagues. Talk about it with your coworkers. This is a challenge. This is the ultimate challenge is that we're trying to do. We're trying to solve problems. We're trying to address challenges. How can we best do that? Any ideas that you have, please share them. Any connections that are interested, please share those. Again, I appreciate everybody's comments. I'll open it up for a couple minutes if anybody has anything else they want to say before we move on to our next presentation. Make sure you... Brian, do you have something?
Yes, Eugene. So when I go back through and if I watch any of your publicly posted available YouTube videos on YouTube, I don't feel comfortable making comments on YouTube. I was wondering if there was a website, say like yours, and I know at the top of your website there's a tab that says file repo.
Right.
But if you had a way that you could go through on your website and watch videos and then make chat comments that could only be seen unless someone logged in officially to your website.
Yeah, I should be able to do that through my AWS platform where the repository is at, or through the website even. I mean, there should, because if you click on it, it'll send an email to me. But you're talking about wanting to put comments directly in the video,
or
chat?
attach it to the video so that it's like a forum with the video, and then you have sidebar chat. Almost like each video or topic can have its own avenue of discussions.
Okay. So now, is that something you've seen before?
Well, it's kind of like how Reddit works, because you can add videos into a discussion, but you don't want it completely public for the whole world to be able to look through.
Right. So we need a private. Yeah, look into that.
Yeah, that's not on the YouTube platform itself.
Okay. Yeah, I will look into that for sure.
And then maybe we could get other videos posted from other government agencies and other things, and then it would become a
Yeah, 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 yeah. Are you there?
yeah. I'm trying to think of a word. It would just be
Okay.
a semi-private Reddit
Yeah,
forum with
yeah. No, I'll think about that, and I'll run it through people in the ecosystem and see if anybody has any ideas. All right. So again, thank you, everybody.